Okay, we're going to continue on in our Father's Word. This is Judges 21, verse 11. And this is a thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman who has known a man intimately. So they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man intimately. And they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the whole congregation sent word to the children of Benjamin, who were at the rock of Rimmon, and announced peace to them. So Benjamin came back at that time, and they gave them the women whom they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet they had not found enough for them. And the people grieved for Benjamin, because the Lord had made a void in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, "What shall we do for the wives for those who remain, since the women of Benjamin have been destroyed?" And they said, "There must be an inheritance for the survivors of Benjamin, that a tribe may not be destroyed from Israel. However, we cannot give them wives from our daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn an oath, saying, 'Cursed be the one who gives a wife to Benjamin.'" Then they said, "In fact, there is a yearly feast of the Lord in Shiloh, which is north of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and the south of Lebonah." Therefore they instructed the children of Benjamin, saying, "Go, lie in wait in the vineyards, and watch. And just when the daughters of Shiloh come out to perform their dances, then come out from the vineyards, and every man catch a wife for himself from the daughters of Shiloh. Then go to the land of Benjamin. Then it shall be, when their fathers or their brothers come to us to complain, that we will say to them, 'Be kind to them for our sakes, because we did not take a wife for any of them in the war. For it is not as though you have given the woman to them at this time, making yourselves guilty of your oath.' And the children of Benjamin did so. They took wives for their number from those who danced, whom they caught. Then they went and returned to their inheritance, and they rebuilt the cities and dwelt there. So the children of Israel departed from there at that time, every man to his tribe and family, and they went out from there, every man to his inheritance. And in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes." Now, that's the book of Judges. Now, the next book is the book of Ruth. Ruth married Boaz. And Boaz, his mother, was Rahab. Now in the Bible, it says Salmon, one of the two spies, is the father of Boaz. And Rahab the harlot, they called her a harlot, but she wasn't. She was just a great businesswoman that the men were jealous of. And they spent the night at her business place, so they called her a harlot. But she was a great businesswoman. And there at Rahab, if you look at the ruins of Jericho, you see there's one spot in the ruins of Jericho of the walls that didn't crumble. And that one spot is where Rahab lived at. Her house didn't crumble and she wasn't destroyed, but all the walls of Jericho crumbled. They just fell when God told them to. So Rahab was saved. She's in the bloodline of Christ. Luke 3 is the bloodline of Christ. Matthew 1 is the bloodline of Joseph, Mother Mary's husband. But Joseph didn't have anything to do with the birth of Jesus. He was just the stepfather. So we're going to read the book of Ruth, and we're going to find out how Ruth and Boaz got together. It's all part of it. It's just like Tamar and Judah. Tamar had to play the harlot. She played the harlot in order to have sex with Judah. And that's all part of the bloodline of Christ. Tamar, Judah are all in the bloodline of Christ. Just like Boaz, Ruth, Jesse, Obed. Boaz had Obed, and Obed had Jesse, and Jesse had King David, and King David had Nathan. Solomon's not in the bloodline of Christ. He's in the bloodline of Joseph, but he's not in the bloodline of Christ. So we're going to read the book of Ruth here next. This is the book of Ruth 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Benjamin, Judah, went to dwell in the country of Moab, he and his wife and 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi. And the names of the 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to the country of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech's, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. Now they took wives of the women of Moab, and the name of one was Oprah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the women survived her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. Therefore she went out from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. And the Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. So she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, Surely we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight, and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Would you restrain yourselves from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Oprah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave you, or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God.